Welcome back to Let's Play Moon Crystal. Last time around, Ricky Slater discovered his entire family had been kidnapped by the nefarious Count Crimson. And today we're going to tackle the next two levels, which are considerably more difficult than the first two. We begin here with the Count's Castle, or more specifically, on the outside of the Count's Castle. Now, Count Crimson might be a notorious evildoer, but he's also terrible at punctuation. Look at that. Count with an apostrophe, but no S. See if you have to class Count Crimson. Now we break in through a window and suddenly we're in the castle interior. I'll just touch on a couple of those enemies that we tackled prior to breaking in. That robotic flying drone thing is kind of an interesting enemy. Its attack pattern is to float above you and shoot out lightning. It can hurt you if you touch it directly, but its job is to prevent you from jumping up, basically. That chest just contains a full life heart, which I didn't need because I hadn't taken a hit. Jump over that arrow like a pro, and our first puzzle of two is done. Basically, you have to press that switch and rush through the gate before it closes. And now we're coming up to the Fat Kakashi Memorial Jump. A moment of silence, please, for our fallen comrade. Okay, that's enough of that. Seriously, that jump is not so difficult as long as you mastered the double jumping mechanics of this game, which I'll touch on in a few seconds. But firstly, a neat little secret. If you press the switch on the previous screen all the way over to the right, you would miss out on this secret because you'd have to run through the gate like a maniac. Instead, if you go up the stairs like I just did, then you can get yourself an extra heart for your life bar. They're still being rather generous with the power-ups in this game, and indeed they will continue to do so right to the end. And this requires a bit of precision platforming, but it's not too bad. Just remember to swat that flame out of the air. Otherwise it will hit you, you'll likely fall down and have to do the puzzle again. But the reason they're being so generous with the power-ups, I originally mocked them being so generous with the power-ups in the last video, but it's because, as somebody pointed out to me, they're there in case you die. Now don't even bother taking on that archer, because all she's got is a double jump, which you've already got in that chest. And then another platforming segment. These zombies take 2 hits to kill, but they're not that difficult. I think part of the reason why some people have so much trouble with the controls of this game is the double jumping. And by the way, if you go on that bottom platform, you will get yourself an extra life. It's not that hard to get. Those platforms obviously tilt on your weight. And there were a couple of takes where that platform didn't spawn for whatever reason. But enough of that, because inside this doorway you fight Count Crimson, already for some reason. Now the Count has 2 attacks. He'll jump in the air and throw daggers at you, and in that case stab me in the face. Or he will run up to you and try and slap you in the face with his pimp cane. Now originally I thought that the Count was a very difficult boss. In fact, he gave me a lot of trouble. But that was before I learned the way to beat him easily. What you've got to do is basically just stand between his daggers, stab him a couple of times, and then double jump away so he doesn't have time to run up and hit you in the face with his cane. His AI is programmed so that if you're too near him when he lands on the ground, he'll run up and attack you, and he can get you into an infinite loop. And this cutscene's kind of interesting. We confront Count Crimson, but unfortunately he went to the Super Mario Bros. 1 school of villainy and left a stooge in his place dressed exactly like him. He's gone to Maclona Island, and there's only one way we can reach him. By using a pirate ship for some reason. And by the way, almost dying right as the stage begins, that doesn't bode well. All joking aside, the pirate ship is the most difficult stage so far because this first screen in particular has a lot of precision jumping elements, and these seagulls fly at you like bullets out of a gun. At certain points they actually fly infinitely from right to left, and they can be very difficult to avoid. I was quite lucky to jump over that particular one. In other places they don't spawn infinitely, and in other places they do. It's kind of strange, and I think it's something to do with where Ricky is on the screen, but it's kind of difficult to explain. New enemy here, these guys that will punch the mast. They're kind of annoying because if you're standing on the ground when they punch the mast, you'll actually fall down through the floor. But as long as you're hanging onto a platform or you're in midair when it happens, you won't fall down. Other than that, they're not that much of a threat. I think I just showed it off here what actually happens just to show you. As I say, not much of a threat. Sometimes they even jump to their deaths. For example, if I'd left that bald guy alone, he would have jumped over me straight into the watery grave below. Now the controls for this game, as you've probably worked out by now, are kind of strange. I couldn't decide when I was recording this whether I felt the controls were too too loose or too tight. And thinking about it hard, I think they're too tight. By the way, this is a good example of this. Ricky has a turning animation, so he doesn't turn instantly like in games like Mario Bros. Again, reference to Mario Bros. But you know, games like that where you turn instantly, that doesn't happen. Neat little secret here, if you jump up there, you'll hang onto a ledge, haul yourself up, and you will get yourself an extra life, and also a heart. Again, they're being really, really generous with the power-ups, but I'm only kind of mocking them because I don't need them, because I'm not dying. And before people mistake this for I'm also at Moon Crystal rant, it really isn't. I mean, I must have died more times than I care to mention. I mean, see, if I'd been awesome, would I really have just been speared in the gut by that seagull? I think not. You can actually deflect those bullets. Now, if I'd been smart, I could have just jumped over that gun and got to the end of the level and the boss. But there's a full heart there, and there's a double jump in that chest, and here is the boss, this pirate captain, with a cutlass and a hook arm that shoots bullets. Now, the strategy for this one is quite simple. I find if you count out 5 times he shoots the bullets and then join him on the main part of the pirate ship to battle him in a sword fight. He has a sword and you have a tiddly little knife, but he's no match for you. The real match for you in this fight is actually the controls. What you're supposed to do is jump over him, turn around, and stab him in the back. But because of that 1 second turning animation, as you see there, that's kind of difficult. But if you turn while you're in mid-air, it's instantaneous for some reason. And as long as you master that technique, he's not too difficult. Again, this boss gave me a ton of grief when I first encountered him, killed me more times than I care to remember. And to celebrate our great victory, let's commit suicide and glitch the game out. And then yet more plot explained to us by the magical blinking exposition fairy known as Rosina. And we find out why Rosina is actually interested in what the Count is doing. It's kind of interesting. You might have been able to figure out why a teenage blonde girl was so interested in the evil Count's ways, but it's explained right here. I am totally not dragging this out because the scene's taking too long to explain it to us. Any second now, ellipsis, and there we go. She's Count Crimson's daughter. And apparently he is using the crystal to do horrid things. So horrid that Ricky has to repeat it twice. And then we get a little bit of explanation about what the moon crystal does. It basically powers up the moon, hence why it's called the moon crystal. I'm doing a terrible job explaining this cutscene, aren't I? But it is kind of needed. What the hell is that word? Vivify? Is that even a word? Vivify. If that is a word, then I apologise for mocking it in advance, but I've never heard of that, and believe me, I've heard of some really, really complex words in my time. We also learned that he's created some horrible weapon called the Lunar System. That's not ripping off the Death Star in the slightest. And that's a great way to end that cutscene. It's a Father's Own State 2 end scene. And this is level 5, and we're going to end it here. Oh, in fact, we will, but first we're going to take on this little chibi version of Red Arena. Gotcha. Right. With him out of the way, I can actually end the video. So that's all for part 2 of Let's Play Moon Crystal. Join me next time as we tackle the Maclona Mines, and then the stage following that, which may or may not be the end of the game. For the sake of those who haven't played this game yet, I'm saying nothing. Until then, bye for now.